All right, everybody. I am JC Peretz, and we are back on the stream. Today, I am joined by Steve Straza. What's up, Steve?
Up. How's it going?
You're very Florida there with your lights back there. I like that. I like what you did there.
We did something special for this
Just
occasion.
to show you how stupid I am with lights, I was like, oh, Straza, I really like your green light. And it means like, the light's not green. His wall's green, stupid.
My mom the other day was like, I think you need to paint that. It doesn't look good on TV. I'm like, okay.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
Too. Thank you.
All right, so I wanted to talk about some of the charts that stood out. You know, one of my favorite things to do on the weekends. We always laugh about it. You know, when things are quiet, I feel like you and I are the only ones talking to each other. Be like, oh, did you see this chart? Did you see this magazine cover? You know, did you see the cover of Barron's or whatever it is? So we always get a lot of good charting done on the weekends. Now cryptos trade on the weekends too, so it's not fully quiet like it used to be in the old days. Yeah. But we'll do the best I can. I'm going to start. This chart definitely stood out to me. Is consumer staples making new multi-decade lows on a relative basis and looking like they're ready to fall off a cliff relative to discretionaries.
Yep. And what are stocks typically doing in an environment where these ratios are trending lower?
Right. That's my point. So if staples are underperforming, you know, go back. How do stocks, what type of environment are we normally in when this is happening? We're probably benefiting from buying stocks. We're probably being rewarded for being long, right?
It speaks to risk appetite too, right?
Right, exactly, of course. And then this one is basically what I said last week was like, listen, you know, these are really important because if these things get going, these shorts are going to just get trampled, right? Small caps and transports.
And it's nice when you look at it zoomed out like this, because you can very much see that the primary trend is higher, and these are consolidations within strong uptrends. Innocent until proven guilty?
Innocent until proven guilty? No, they have to break out first. They're still guilty. How can you say
primary?
Because the long-term trend is up.
Right.
The long-term trend is up, but we've gone nowhere for months, 6 months in the case of smalls.
Right, but we would err on the side that they're going to resolve higher, not lower, in the direction of the underlying trend.
Right, but if I would have asked you 6-7 months ago how long it was going to take, would you have said that we'd be here going into September and we still haven't broken out?
No, not at all. But I still think they're innocent until proven guilty.
Isn't it a show me market? Like you're talking about mid caps. Let's move over to mid caps real quick. You know, they all look the same, right? So we're looking at mid cap sideways, small cap sideways, micro cap sideways. The mid caps are the leaders, right? So, you know, gun to my head, if mid caps are breaking out of this, you know, range to new highs, small caps and micro caps can't be too far behind, but we got to see it, right? Same thing with transports. We got to see it.
But it was a good first step. The end of last week with mid caps making new all-time highs. They're the leaders out of the SMIDs, right? So we would expect them to break out first. Small cap growth broke out. Small cap tech broke out to new all-time highs. So you're seeing the strongest areas down the cap scale working right now. Now we just need to see the rest join.
Tell me this isn't the most important chart in the world. Go. I'll let you try.
Equal weight industrials, RGI.
Well, it looks like the cap weight industrials.
Yes. No, these two are the most important sector.
I mean, if you have any sort of exposure in the equities market in any country you live in, I don't care if you live in America or you live in Africa, like you got to be looking at this chart, right?
Yes. Yep. It is the highest correlation with the broader market, and even the equal weight version too, which I know I keep harping on. It's doing the same thing. It's nice consolidation right at the fib. So.
And by the way, we're talking about how transports and small caps need to break out of these ranges. All 20 stocks in the Dow Jones Transportation average are in this industrial sector.
And also small caps have a very heavy weighting towards industrials.
So does Europe.
There you go.
Boom. Okay. So is this whole small cap sort of situation, is it just an interest rate story? Is that really what it is? So if small caps start getting that relative bid, start to outperform, bonds are going to get killed in that environment. Stocks are probably doing great. Rates are ripping.
And IWM SPY too also looks a lot like financials relative because they're so heavy in financials, small caps. So you would imagine that in an environment where financials are working, small caps are working relative, yields are going to be back above 1.4, right?
And then you're Mr., you know, small caps are guilty, are innocent until proven guilty. Why do the bonds keep catching a bid? Rates aren't participating. Rates don't agree with you. So who do I want to bet on, the bond market or Steve Straza?
Probably the bond market, but you know, this has been the biggest, I don't know what's with the 10-year.
I love you, but I'm not going to bet against the bond market for
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
All right. So we need so for small caps to break out, it would behoove interest rates to break out above 1.4. So something we'll be watching as we finish up August and head into September. Speaking of small cap stocks, today is Monday. Every other Monday, we come out with the minor leaguers report. These are stocks between $1 and $2 billion. I feel like for every scan, I always say this is one of my favorite scans because I really do love all our scans. That's why we do them, right? Are there any scans that we do that are like, I don't even know why we do this one?
No, we wouldn't do it then?
Right. I kind of just hit me because I feel like every time we do this, I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorite scans. I feel like I always say that before every scan, but this one's, and they're all unique in their own ways, but this one in particular is unique because we open it up to all industry groups, right? We don't discriminate like we do in some others where we're looking for like high growth areas. In this case, it's open to anybody, REITs, utilities, financials, doesn't matter, right?
It's just a market cap filter between 1 and 2 billion. And actually this week, interestingly enough, we have a financial name on it. So as financials just broke out to new all-time highs.
Yeah. And another thing, we're talking about consumer staples making new relative lows, both relative to the overall market and relative to consumer discretionary, looking awfully vulnerable. Flip that completely around. Financials breaking out to new highs is just, reiterates that same story, does it not?
Yeah, it's not bearish.
Right. So we need industrials to follow through, small caps, right? So there's still some work to do, but let's break it down inside, right? So, what I always like to say is any idiot can create one of these scans, right? Unusual options or, the young aristocrats is something we didn't invent. We kind of put our own twist on it, but like, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just looking for characteristics in stocks that historically tend to do very well. And we want to catch it right before it does that. And in this case, I think we do a good job with small caps, but just because we create the scan doesn't mean we want to buy all of these, right? We want to hand select the best opportunities. And I like this telecom name, Radius Global.
And just to speak to that point, like while small caps have been chopping sideways and underperforming for most of this year, you can tell that that's the case. And this is information for us. We've been, putting out much fewer and been far more selective about the trade ideas that we're putting on through this scan. As opposed to the 2 to 100 club, as tech keeps ripping, and there have been plenty of trade ideas. So it's been quite different.
So fun fact, this 660 Madison Avenue, this is right around the corner from my old office. So that's cool, right? New York City. Fun fact. So, what I like about it, it's outperforming, right? If you look at a chart of small caps, which we happen to have, small caps have really gone sideways since February, right? But this one has not gone sideways since February. It's making higher highs, higher lows. We call that relative strength. So positive momentum, relative strength, and well-defined risk. If we're above 17, you own it. Target above 21. What's wrong with that?
And it's in a strong sector right now, communications.
Well, it's a telecom name. Oh, it's a communications. Got it. So the sector's communications. So telecom services is the industry within communications. Got it. That confused me. So it's not a telecom stock per se.
I think they moved the telcos out of utilities and into communications when they did the new communications sector.
I think people's jobs is just to confuse me. Like, there's got to be people in this world that they just do things just to make my life more complicated. All right, here's another one. This is a $1.9 billion. Notice how both market caps are between 1 and 2 billion. That's the point, right? All these names are between 1 and 2 billion dollars. So this one is PJT Partners. You gave me a fun fact about this one earlier. Straza's always full of fun facts.
Investment bank. It was a spinoff from Blackstone Group in about 2015, 2016. They're focused on advisory more.
Now, this one hasn't broken out yet. That's the thing. So we're consolidating. This one is basically performing with the market, particularly for most of this year. But if we start getting a breakout above 83 and a half, $84, you got to buy it, right?
Yeah. And we love setups like this because it's like the stock has to prove itself to us, right? And break out, and we'll buy it on strength. If it doesn't break out, no harm, no foul for us.
Yeah. All right. So can't help ourselves. Cryptos are breaking out. Let's get into it quickly. What I like is these Bollinger Bands are getting real narrow.
Yep. Tight. Super tight. They haven't been that tight since what? Last year?
Well, 52-week lows for Ethereum Bollinger Bands. Bitcoin is down near the range lows, but we typically see bouts of volatility when we get down to these levels. So I think that's exactly what's taking place, right?
From compression comes expansion. And we're seeing that in a number of other coins too.
Well, let's get into that. This is really the compression that we're talking about. Ethereum is actually up 120 points today. Man, getting awfully close. Looks like we might, I mean, if we close today, not to look at incomplete candles, the candlestick police is going to come get you. But, we're quickly approaching. If the market closed today, right now, Ethereum would be making a new recovery closing high. Which would bode for this one, not this one. And we've been in the camp that it is going to be this one, so that would prove us right. And then speaking of being proven right, Straza, kudos to you. You've been all over the Solana, all over it.
Thank you.
So when are you taking profits?
Not yet. What has this chart done to make anyone want to take profits here?
Right. Bull flags. Bull flags confirming that that's what they are.
Let me see a continuation pattern resolve to the downside. Maybe then I'll take profits. I likely will. Actually.
Yeah. What about that strategy of when Bitcoin gets back up to the former highs around 65 and Ethereum gets back up to the highs around 43? Then you feed the ducks and the altcoins.
Yes, I like that
strategy.
I'll definitely be taking some off the table there, but I'll also be watching, because sometimes what we see is, Bitcoin could rip right through that level and not pay attention to it. Then that would be information too, in which case I would want to stay long. But if it reacts to that level and chops around a little bit, then I think it's time to take some off the table for sure.
Okay, so here's a new one just popping up on our scans. So this is now the 100th largest cryptocurrency. I think it was like what was it? Like it was like maybe
900 million.
900 million. I'm looking it up right now. Oh, I think it just got kicked out of the top 100 again. So it's no longer in the top 100, but it's right there. Needless to say, beautiful base. 91 cents is probably the level there. If we're above the spring highs, I think it could be long. And it's not just this chart. How many times in crypto have we said, hey, if we're above the spring highs, you got to be long? We said the same thing in Solana. That worked out well. We said the same thing in Cardano. That worked out well. So this is the same thing. It's much smaller. And it's part of the whole video game situation, right? Same as the Axie.
Yep. And the thing is, there's not many cryptos above those, first half highs. So the ones that are your leaders, and that's the ones that we're focusing on for that reason.
Yep. Solana, Cardano. Speaking of Solana, Cardano, the Sandbox, Axie, right? Those are the ones that, Luna, right? Those are the names that we've been paying attention to because they've already broken out above those former highs. And then finally, another interesting one, Brian Lund brought it up today on the spaces, is the waves. He's hearing a lot of chatter, huh?
Yeah, and that's a nice coil right there. If that goes, it's headed to 42, no?
Yeah, you got to own it if it's above 28. Right now, it's just below it. So it's waves. It's the 45th largest crypto, sitting just under 3 billion in market cap. Again, 45th largest. 28 is the level. Right now, we're sitting just under 28. If we're above 28, I think you own it. With the, this is a similar trade to like a Bitcoin or Ethereum, where you buy the breakout and you take profits at the spring highs, right? That's, this is not the Sandbox or Axie or Solana or Cardano or Luna, right? This is its own animal, but a well-defined risk reward in an uptrend in a bull market for cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah, this one looks great. There wasn't much price memory at this level, so maybe it just rips right through there and heads back to all-time highs, probably sooner rather than later.
Good point. It's a good point. There's not much memory. That's a good, valid point.
I like the Sandbox setup though. I like new all-time highs. I added some of that today.
So you bought the Sandbox? I haven't bought it in yet.
Yeah.
All right.
A little bit.
Really digging down the cap scale there, Mr. Straza.
I know. I have like 5 crypto accounts now.
All right. Kudos to you. All right, listen, this was fun. We'll do it again. If you guys are interested in the slides, email info@allstarcharts.com and make sure to use the password last days of summer. So Straza, final trade, Sandbox?
Sandbox. It happened.
All right. I'm doubling down on the Luna. I like the Luna. If it were above 32, you got to own it. How can you not? It's a beautiful chart.
I'm with you.
All right. Adios.
Peace.